Good morning, children. Welcome to Momita ma'am's class. Today we would be doing the story The Portrait of a Lady. The Portrait of a Lady is a story which revolves around the grandmother of the writer Khushwant Singh. The Portrait of a Lady refers to the pen picture of the grandmother. In this story, we would learn about Khushwant Singh's relationship with his grandmother from the very beginning till her death. Right, now let us start the chapter. I hope you would enjoy the session. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. So the time when the writer Khushwant Singh writes this story, he is 20 years old. Now he's telling that he's telling that he knows his grandmother since the last 20 years, and for these 20 years grandmother has always been old and wrinkled. People said that she had once been young and pretty and even had a husband, but that was hard to believe. Now he had always seen his grandmother to be an extremely old person who can only have grandchildren. So the thought that she was young once, and she even had a husband, and she was pretty, she was young, these thoughts were quite revolting. He couldn't believe these things. My grandfather's portrait hung over the mantelpiece in the drawing room. Now says that the grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece. Mantelpiece is a furniture, right, which you can find near the fireplace, right? So his grandfather's portrait hung over the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose fitting clothes. So in the picture, in the photograph, grandfather is seen to be wearing a big turban as the Punjabis wear and loose fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. So children, it seems that grandfather was a fitting partner to grandmother. He was also as old as grandmother, right? So he wore a big turban and loose fitting clothes. He had white beard which covered his chest, long white beard which covered almost the entire of his chest, and he looked 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. And as for my grandmother being young and pretty, the thought was almost revolting. Now the thought that grandmother could be young and pretty, this thought was revolting. And for grandfather, it seemed that he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. It's not possible for him to have wife or children. She often told us of the games she used to play as a child. That seemed quite absurd. Absurd means strange. The word absurd means strange. Now when grandmother used to tell them about the stories about the stories of her childhood, right, how she used to play games when she was a child, these stories seemed to be very absurd, strange stories, and undignified. It didn't suit her dignified figure, her dignified nature, that she used to play games. And on her part, we treated it like fables of the prophet she used to tell us. So these seem to be stories for them, like fables, right? They seem to be like fables for them, stories, false stories, which could never be true. She had always been short-lived. Now this paragraph gives us the physical description of grandmother. She was short, fat, and slightly bent. Her face was a crisscross of wrinkles running from everywhere to everywhere. Now her face was full of wrinkles. Everywhere you would find wrinkles. It was a crisscross of wrinkles connecting all the places of her face. No, we were certain that she had always been, as we had known her. Now she's telling that he is quite sure that grandmother had always been old so terribly that she could not have grown older and had stayed at the same age for 20 years. It seemed that she is so old that she couldn't grow older, and she must have been staying so old for the last 20 years. That is, she had reached the saturation point of being old. She cannot be older. She could never have been pretty, but she was always beautiful. She hobbled about the house in spotless white, with one hand resting on her waist to keep her stoop and the other telling the beads of her rosary. Now, hobbled means, the word hobbled means moved about. Hobble means moved about. Actually, hobble means move about in short jumps, right? But here, why is she hobbling? Perhaps she used to limp. She hobbled about the house in spotless white. She would be wearing white sari, and with one hand she would be supporting her waist because she was extremely old, right? And she couldn't walk properly. So she used her one hand to support her waist, to balance her stoop. Stoop means to bend low. Stoop means to bend low, and with the other hand she would be telling the beads of a rosary. She would be counting the beads of her. Have you seen the religious people? They often have beads, mala, which you say mala, mala japna. She used to count the beads of a rosary, taking the name of a god. Her silver locks were scattered untidily over her pale, puckered face. Puckered also means wrinkled. Silver-colored locks used to scattered all over her pale and wrinkled face, and her lips constantly moved in inaudible prayer. Inaudible means something which you cannot hear. Yes, she was beautiful. She was like the wintry landscape in the mountain, an expanse of pure white, Serenity means beauty. Serenity means beauty. Breathing peace and contentment. Contentment means satisfaction. Her lips would be constantly moving in inaudible prayer, and she was extremely beautiful. She was like her beauty has been, she might not be pretty, but she was beautiful. And the writer here compares her beauty with the beauty of a snow-covered peak. Right. As you feel peace and contentment when you stand before the mighty, huge peak, right? Similarly, standing like grandmother was like that. Grandmother also seemed to be like a peak covered with snow because she was white, and she always breathed out peace and contentment. There was no dint of anger, no dint of dissatisfaction in her. She was always in a peaceful, calm and contented mood. My grandmother and I were good friends. My parents left me with her when we went to live in city, and we were constantly together. She used to wake me up in morning and get me ready for school. She said her morning prayer in monotonous means boring, sing-song means constantly you keep on singing something, while she bathed and dressed me in the hope that I would listen to get to know it by heart. Now, how did the grandmother and the grandson pass their day? Grandmother and the narrator were very good friends. The grandmother would take her to school. Before that, she would wake him up and make him ready for school, and then she would start singing her prayer. While dressing him and getting him ready, grandmother would keep on singing her prayer. Why? Because she used to hope that one day the grandson would also learn it by heart. But the grandson listened to it not because he wanted to learn it, but he loved the monotonous sing-song voice of the grandmother. Then he would fetch my wooden slate, and then she would fetch my wooden slate, which she had already washed and plastered with yellow chalk on a tiny earthen ink pot and red pen, tie them all in a bundle and hand it to me. In village, it is about village education. They learn in slate. So the slate used to be plastered with yellow colored chalk, and then grandmother would also bring the ink pot and the pen and tie them up all in a bundle and give it to the writer. After the breakfast of a thick stale chapati with a little butter and sugar spread on it, we went to school. See, life was so easy going. Life had so meager. Life has so little thing for Khushwant Singh. They hardly had many comforts. Any comfort. I won't say many. They hardly had any comfort in life. Early in the morning, he used to eat a stale chapati. Stale means not fresh, leftover from night. Their breakfast consisted of stale chapati, butter and sugar, nothing else. No TV, no phone, nothing. The mode of entertainment, the way he used to be entertained was the sing-song voice of his old grandmother. It was so, life gave so meager things to the narrator, but still he was happy, right? She carried several stale chapatis with her for the village dogs. Again, she would also be carrying the stale chapatis with her to fetch the village dogs. My grandmother always went to school with me because school was attached to the temple. The priest taught us the alphabet and the morning prayer, while the children sat in rows on either side of the veranda singing the alphabet or the prayer in the chorus. My grandmother sat inside reading the scriptures. Now, grandmother went to school. Why? Because she was a devout old lady and the school was attached to the temple. While the children would be completing their lessons, what would grandmother do? She would be going inside the temple and read the holy scriptures. When we had both finished referred to when grandmother had finished reading the scriptures and the grandson had finished learning his lesson in the village school, we would walk back together. This time the village dogs would meet us at the temple door. They followed us to our home, growling and fighting with each other for the chapatis which we were there. Now, throughout the way, what happened? The dogs would follow the narrator and the grandmother, growling and fighting for chapatis, and the grandmother would be throwing chapatis at them, which the dogs would eat very happily. When my parents were comfortably settled in the city, they sent for us. Now, this is the turning point of the relationship. The parents were comfortably settled in the city, and now they wanted the grandmother and the grandchild, their own children, to be with them. And this was the turning point in our friendship. Although we shared the same room, my grandmother no longer came to school with me. I used to go to an English school in a motor bus. There were no dogs in the street, and she took to feeding sparrows in the courtyard of our city house. Now, there were no dogs, and he used to go in school bus, and grandmother would no longer accompany him to school, and moreover there were no dogs who would meet them and wait to be fed. As the years rolled by, we saw less of each other. Grandson grew older and older, and they saw less of each other. He was busy in his own study, his own life, and grandmother was also busy with her religious activities. For some time she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher taught me. I would tell her English words and the little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. This made her unhappy. Now, in the village school, the knowledge that the grandchild used to get also consisted of religion, and there were very little things which grandmother could understand and explain her. But in the English medium school, he was taught various things like law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, this and that, world being round, and grandmother couldn't understand any of these things. And now she could not help the grandson with his studies, and this made her extremely unhappy. She could not help me with my lessons. She did not believe in the things they taught at the English school, and she was distressed that there was no teaching about God and scriptures. She was sad that how could the school not teach children anything about God and scriptures. She was sad about that, and she didn't believe anything about what the school taught the children. One day I announced that we were being given music lessons. She was very disturbed. To her, music had lute. Lute means very low, association, connection. Now, one day he came and announced that they were given music lesson. and this was very disturbing. She thought that music is the sole monopoly of harlots. Harlots means prostitutes and beggars. People belonging to good family, they never sing. This was her viewpoint, right? And not meant for general folk. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. Disapproval means she didn't like this. She didn't agree to this. She disapproved of the thing that her grandson would be learning music, which is the monopoly of only harlots and beggars. She rarely talked to me after that. She didn't like this, and she hardly talked to the grandson after that. But she didn't protest openly. When I went up to the university, I was given a room of my own. The common link of friendship was snapped. Snapped means broken. My grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. What does this line mean? Now the common link of friendship was broken. The grandson was given a different room, and the grandmother accepted this seclusion. Seclusion means separation with resignation. Resignation means without much protest. She accepted that quietly. She herself voluntarily accepted that. She didn't protest about this separation. She rarely left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone. Rarely means hardly ever. Very rarely means hardly ever she left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone. She would be busy in spinning her wheel. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel, spinning and reciting prayer. Only in the afternoon she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. While she sat in the veranda breaking the breads into little bits, hundreds of little birds collected round her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirrupings. Now her only relaxation was was feeding sparrows. Most of the time she would spin her wheel, and in the afternoon she would be feeding the sparrows, right? While she sat in the veranda breaking the bread into little bits, right? She would break the breadcrumbs into very small bits, and hundreds of little birds would collect round her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirruping. Veritable means noisy. Bedlam means asylum, a place where lunatics or mad people are kept, is known as a bedlam. So the whole place would be like a very noisy asylum full of chirrupings from birds. Some came and perched on her leg. Perched means sat. Some birds would come and sit on her leg, others on her shoulder. Some even sat on her head. She smiled at the bird, but never ever shooed them away. Shoot means to drive them away. Shoot means to drive the birds away. She would be very happy with the birds. The birds would sit on her leg, on her shoulder, even on her head. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. When I decided to go abroad for further studies, I was sure my grandmother would be upset. I was sure my grandmother would be upset. I would be away for 5 years, and at her age, one could never tell. She would be the writer would be going abroad for 5 years, and no one could tell what happens at her age. She was extremely old, and she might pass away any time. But my grandmother could. But the grandmother was sure that she's not going to die so soon. She was not even sentimental. The grandson was sentimental that he is leaving the grandmother for 5 years. There was no surety that when he would return he would be able to see his grandmother. But grandmother was not sentimental. It seemed that she was quite sure that she's not going to die so soon. She came to leave me at the railway station, but did not talk or show any emotion. She came to leave the grandson at the railway station, but there was no emotion. There was no dint of emotion in her. Her lips moved in prayer. Her mind was lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary. She was busy. She was lost in a prayer. She was praying and praying. Her mind was lost in prayer. With her fingers, she was busy telling the rosary. Silently, she kissed my forehead. And when I left, I cherished means he memorized with happiness the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contacts between us. Moist imprints refer to the kiss on the moist kiss of the grandmother on the narrator's head. He cherished that thing, and he thought that perhaps it would be the last sign of physical contact between them. He was almost sure that when he would return, he would not see grandmother. But that was not so. After 5 years, I came back home and was met by her at the station. She did not look a day older. She still had no time for words, and while she clasped me in her arms, I could hear her reciting her prayer. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, whom she fed longer with frivolous rebukes. She didn't look a day older. She embraced, clasped means to embrace, and recited prayer. She embraced the narrator and recited prayer. And even on the first day, her happiest time was feeding those sparrows, right, whom she fed longer with frivolous rebukes. Frivolous means showy, loud rebukes. She would talk and scold the birds. In the evening, a change came over her. She did not pray. She collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum, and started to sing. For several hours, she thumped the sagging skin of the dilapidated drum. Dilapidated means in a very old and broken condition. The drum was in a bad condition, and she started beating the drum and sang the homecoming of warriors. We had to persuade her to stop. They almost forced her to stop, it would be overstraining her. This was the first time since I had known she did not pray, and this was the first time she didn't pray. The next morning she was taken in. It was a mild fever. The doctors told us it would go, but my grandmother thought differently. She told us that her end was near. She had, since she only had a few hours before the close of her last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. She was not going to waste more time talking to us. Now she didn't want to waste any more time. She started praying. We protested, but she ignored our protest. She lay peacefully in the bed, praying and telling her beads. Even before we could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless finger. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, and we know that she was dead. She died very peacefully. We lifted her off the bed as it was customary, laid her on the ground and covered her with the red shroud. After a few hours of mourning, we left her alone to make arrangements for the funeral. So they went away to make arrangement of the funeral, and when they returned, they saw, what did they see? In the evening, we went to her room with a crude stretcher to make her to be cremated, means burnt. Cremated means to burn. The sun was setting and had lit the halfway in the courtyard, all over the veranda and in her room, right up to where she lay dead and stiff, wrapped in the shroud. Shroud means the covering with which you covered the dead. Thousands of sparrows lay scattered on the floor. There was no chirruping. We felt sorry for the birds. Now, birds were not chirruping, right? They felt sorry for the birds, and the mother fed some bread for them. She broke it into little crumbs, the way my grandmother used to, and threw it to them. The sparrows took no notice of the bread. When they carried my grandmother's corpse, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweeper came and swept the breadcrumbs into the dustbin. So the birds had not come to eat the bread. It was the way they showed their tribute to the grandmother. Came and showed their tribute to the grandmother. They stayed there. They didn't make any noise, and when the body was taken away, they flew away. They did not even touch the breadcrumbs that were given to them. Right? So when we end the chapter here. Thank you for being in this session.